Hey, lovely ones. So I have spoken many times on this channel about grief. And I have, in different ways, offered different tarot practices as a way of grappling with grief. And I've pulled cards and I've read with you. My roots and canopy spread, which I'm going to be doing in a second, my roots and canopy spread is in so many ways a spread to deal with grief. I first introduced it as thinking about how to ground ourselves in moments of anxiety, how to breathe into what's right here in moments when the heart is kind of when we feel a little rumbly inside, a little shaky. How do we find what roots us? And then finding what roots us, how do we reach up? But you know, that roots and canopy spread can also be thought of in terms of the roots that are knotted and gnarled, like the roots of a dandelion that spread and tangle, and you try to pull up the weed and you can't get down it, right? How do we get down to what is knotted and vexed? Not to uproot it, but to touch it, so that once we can touch it, we can also take nourishment. And I think here too of the movement in reverse, the movement of cataclysmic grace that the tower represents in the tarot. What it means for things on high to tumble down. You know, whether we're pulling up from the ground or we're falling down from the sky, the tarot is again and again a great spiritual tool, because like every great spiritual tool, like every great piece of spiritual medicine, the tarot is trying to teach us how to stand. Not how to rise up, but how to stand. Not how to prostrate ourselves on the ground before some sky king, but how to ground ourselves, how to find our feet planted here, how to breathe, how to grow. So grief, you know, I've thought a lot about grief. I'm a chaplain, so I encounter grief all the time. I encounter grief, you know, obviously in terms of people dealing with tragedy, with death, or with loss of limb, loss of independence, loss of the life they knew. But I also deal with this more complicated version of grief that I think is more akin to what a lot of us are carrying right now, and that is the grief that we sometimes call burnout. The grief of a broken heart, where we're not just dealing with loss, we're dealing with a sense of betrayal, a sense that what we trusted, that once what we accepted as our foundation no longer holds, and maybe never did hold true for us. So when we're dealing with the grief that comes with the loss of an ideal, or the grief that comes with a sense of having been betrayed or deceived or manipulated, a loss of innocence, not just loss, but a loss of ideal, that grief is a little more complicated, and it is harder to ground ourselves in. And that's the grief that I want to work with you tonight, with my roots and canopy spread. And I'm going to do the roots and canopy spread 2 times. I'm going to do it as a way of thinking about what's down in the earth, that is both what grounds us, holds us here, but also what is knotted, what needs to be touched in its darkness so that we can expand up, so that we can stand up. And then I'm going to do it more from the standpoint of the tower, thinking about what's on high that needs to come down to the earth, so that again our feet touch the ground and we can stand up. Now, the card of this complicated grief that I'm talking about, the card, the one and only card in the deck that represents this grief, can you guess? Can you guess what it is? You probably can. It's the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords is confusing to a lot of people because it's got a heart in it in the classic Waite-Smith imagery that goes back to 1491 to the Solabusca Tarot, so really old imagery. The Three of Swords looks like it should be a Cups card, right? Because, you know, heart, emotion, feeling. But it's not. It's a sword card, because what the the Three of Swords is about is the way grief rises when our very understanding of the world is split apart. This is not just a Five of Cups moment, a moment of loss. This is a moment of splitting open. This is a moment that is heartbreaking because ideals, beliefs, universes have been shattered. Okay, so how are we going to do this? I'm going to, because I'm standing up, I'm going to actually just look through the deck, starting at the bottom, and I'm just looking through the deck here. You can look with me. I'm looking for the Three of Swords. And when I find it, it's my significator card. I'm going to pick the card before it and the card after it. The card before it are my roots. The card after it is my canopy. Queen of Swords. There's my Three of Swords. And a King of Cups reversed. So I'm going to also take the card after it. And it's the Ten of Swords. Okay, well, boy. If we were wondering why it hurts so much right now, it's because we've got the Queen of Swords as our root and an inverted King of Cups, followed by, I'm just going to treat, when I do reversals and I pick a clarifying card, I don't double up the reversal, so I'm just going to take the Ten of Swords as my clarifier. So, King of Cups reversed as my canopy. Yeah. Three of Swords. What's at the bottom of it all, the root here, what's knotted up, but then what's also at the base, what also is what I need to touch into, what needs to ground me, is everything that the Queen of Swords, water of air, everything that she represents, right? We want to understand. You know, we want to understand. And there is no understanding here, right? That is what is fucked up. There's nothing to understand in the way things are broken. And yet, our heart, which melts and touches like water everything and everyone, that feels so connected to all the people we know and love. Our heart feels so connected, but our mind cannot understand. That is this grief of the broken heart. Yeah, we don't get to understand it, guys. We get to feel it, but we don't get to understand it. And the Queen of Swords, she's I mean, is the tarot... Wow, I've never started crying in a video before. I mean, this is me, but this is also us, right? There isn't a way to understand. And yet look at her. Look how she gives the world her face. She's not looking straight at us, but she is looking at what is in front of her. That strong profile, that hand, that's like, yes, I'm here. Yes, I acknowledge. That sword. You know, in profile, one of the things the Queen of Swords reminds us is that we have one side and not the other. We can't see the whole picture. By definition, we just see what we're able to take in. We don't see everything. We don't understand. We just actually are connected. That's the knot. That is the canopy. That's the bundle of dandelion roots, right? But it's also what grounds us. And what enables, you know, air of water, right? What enables, this is like so fucking perfect. From water of air to air of water. The tarot is trying at every moment to help us make sense. But a broken heart means that we can't just make sense, okay? We don't get to tie this up neatly. We just get to feel. And why is he upside down? Because to feel actually means that we don't get to hold ourselves with ego. I get it, I'm me. We don't get to build an identity out of our heartbreak. We grow a heart. We enlarge our love. We deepen our connection, but we don't get to define an identity. In fact, we have to let go of who we think we know ourselves to be. And then we can be this guy, the King of Cups. So I was going to do this reading one more time and try to take it from the up down, but I don't think I need to. I think the cards have spoken pretty clearly. So we got to stand in the place of the broken heart. Does that make sense? Does that make sense at all? This is not about being strong in whatever narrative we've had about strength in the modern Western world. This may be like the strength of the lady with the lion. This may be that kind of strength through vulnerability, but strength may not really be the word that we need in all of this. We just need to stand up in the space of heartbreak. And we do that with each other. We do that with each other. Does this make sense? If you care to, let's take a few deep breaths together, if you care to. And if breathing deeply doesn't feel good right now, then maybe just feel your feet on the ground, or let your hands fall to your side, or sit with your hands in your lap. Maybe hold your hands together or hold your hands to your chest. Just feel some contact with the earth, with your own body. But if breathing deeply does feel okay, and if you care to join me, let's breathe another couple of times together. May we all find our footing in this time of broken hearts. May we all take nourishment in the simple things of cool air and bird song and green earth. And in moments where we feel alone, may we remember to reach out. From now on, there's a link at the bottom of my descriptions that lists a website with lots of resources across the world. May we all, if we're feeling alone, somehow find that little bit of energy to reach out. Take good care. Play with your cards. And thank you so much, all of you, for your practice.